Yeah, yeah, yeah. So many lies that you hear from the net, they don't get her respect. She reporting the truth, not a check. You want an unbiased opinion straight from the chest, not a bit accomplice or someone here for a check. Tune in, these are thoughts from a lawyer on a mission who goes so hard it's like she works on commission. Trolls in the comments might say she tripping cause they lack the knowledge, they don't know they missing. Got a couple current events that you like, wanna know about law from the eyes. Tired of all these blogs running lies because their agendas are disguised. Tune in to the intellect, cause I'm sure y'all missing all the facts of the case that she steady is gifted. Someone here for the people, man, it's so uplifting. If you ain't subscribed yet, then you just omitting facts.
Hello, everyone. It is Pam Esquire, also known as the Law Intellect, and this is day 555 of the trial. Now, this is day 7 of the trial, and we actually started with closing arguments. However, we did not finish. Yep. So right now, Meg's team is doing their rebuttal. And I believe they have about 15, 20 more minutes. And so that will probably be the first thing that happens tomorrow. After that, they will give the jury their charging instructions and they will go and deliberate. So we may have a verdict on tomorrow. I did do a live earlier. So if you have not seen that, make sure that you log on off after this. Wait till this video is over though first. And go ahead and go to that video. But make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. We are on our way to 40K. We only need a few more of you to go ahead and subscribe to support the channel if you enjoy the commentary. As you all know, I have been at this courthouse tirelessly covering this case. And when I went on live earlier at lunchtime, there were a few things that I did want to mention as starting this off when Milagro was on the stand doing the recross. So this is her attorney coming back who is having the last words of her while she's on the stand. And there were a few things that she did acknowledge, which some of us have not heard it before. And the reason why I'm going to say it now is because some of you all is still talking about that glass in my comments. And because I don't want to go back and forth with you, I am here to report that Milagro acknowledged that she says she believes that she was hurt. She's always said that Meg was hurt. They asked her, when you say she was hurt, what did you mean? She said, do you believe she got shot? She believes that Meg got shot. She also believes that she had bullet fragments in her feet. So she did acknowledge that. She also said that she was trending about this lawsuit because they posted how she was bragging about trending about the lawsuit. And she said she was trending not because of her popularity, but because of Miss Pete. So she recognizes that that was the reason why she was trending at that time. She also said that they were under a gag order, and regardless of the gag order, hold on one second. She said regardless of the gag order, she was still able to do her content. Her numbers didn't drop. This didn't affect her. So essentially, she wasn't able to talk about Megan, and she still was able to move on. So she does not need to talk about Megan Pete. She has not lost any viewership because of it. They asked her, well, how do you feel? How long have you been on this stand? She said about four days. Said, well, how do you feel about emotionally? You know, how do you feel being on the stand? She said, well, I don't want to be dramatic or anything, but it feels like someone is holding you against your will and they're just chipping away at you. More like, you know, this is just more like targeting and bullying. So she said that a couple of times in her testimony. So then they established that she lives in Houston. The trial happened in California. Her commentary about the trial was in California. She doesn't have any ties to Florida, no friends, no family. She was only there because of this lawsuit being filed. Tory hasn't paid for anything that has to do with this trial. And then they showed that her ending that she has about the affirmation with the little black boys and little black girls, and you're more than enough and all of that. So she showed that at the end. So that was one part I think I abruptly got off the live because I was trying to go back in. So I did want to clarify that. So then Meg's team gets up, and I don't know if they had notes or not, but it was underwhelming. Gonna be honest, Megan's attorneys were a bit underwhelming. They got up there. It's an older guy. He gets up there and he talks about Miss Walker, who was the doctor that came and testified about Meg's PTSD and the effects that Miss Walker said that it had on Meg. And she said there's no dispute. Nobody can dispute that all of this happened. So he started out actually putting up the verdict form of Tory Lanez. I told y'all we was relitigating this whole case. That's what it really felt like. Put up the verdict form, and it was showing, of course, him being found not guilty of everything. I mean, finding guilty. Sorry, let me scratch that. Him found guilty of everything, and was like, so there's no facts in dispute. Meg was shot, and it doesn't matter whatever version that Miss Cooper has in her head. When Meg gets shot, she's walking away. So he's like walking, showing that he's walking away. And like, how can you come for that type of person? Like when she got shot, she was walking away. This is just painting a picture as to how unexpected, I guess it was, is where he was going with it. So they talk to, well, how do you measure the damages? I'm gonna get into you get into emotional distress and mental anguish, and it can manifest itself outward, and it can be disabling. And how acute? So how do you really describe it? So she said, when you see like the images in the cat video, and you see the images of how raw it was with him cutting up horse legs and all of this, and she had to see this, it's just hard to be able to quantify these damages. So then like, how do you do the whole emotional distress of it all? So then he has this timeline that's up, and he starts out with like July 12th, 2020, Tory shot Meg. August 20th of 2020, Meg names Tory as the shooter. September 17th, 2020, Milagro says she got exclusive that would change her life, meaning the exclusive interview with Sunstar. May 2021, Milagro gets her station head contract. June 18, 2021, Sunstar visits Milagro in Houston. They literally have a whole like timeline of all of this. February 24, 2022, Milagro visits Sunstar and Tory in Miami. March 12, 2022, Milagro tweets about the cat video. September 14, 2022, Kelsey tells prosecutor that Tory shot Meg. So that was when she did her interview. December 12, 2022 is when Tory's trial began. December 14, 2022 was Kelsey recants her statement. December 23rd, 2022 was when Tory was convicted. So they had all of this like on a timeline, and he kind of talked about it in chunks. And they said Meg took the stand, and the jury took her, they took her story, and they took her story, as the facts. They believed what she said about what happened to her. So then they had, of course, on the timeline, they got March 29, 2023, a Tory files a motion for a new trial. April 10th of 2023, Milagro meets Sunstar in LA. Then they talk about Milagro and her post where she has the open question about she wasn't sure about the bullet fragments, but she's saying like she wasn't sure about the bullet fragments when she was on the stand. But all of this has been adjudicated, and honestly, this was kind of the issue I had with this case. The issue I had with this case was it felt like to me that they were more upset that Milagro didn't believe her. And this is a defamation case of which you're saying that she defamed her. And it got so deep into the trial that you just were we know everything pretty much that happened in the trial. Like it felt like reliving it all over again where you almost forgot like what are we here for again? So it's like they're saying they're actually arguing that it's factual because the jury convicted him. So we already know what happened because the jury got this information and he's been convicted. So almost like if you say anything that's the opposite of it, then you can't disagree with it. I don't know. Because we do all know. Now, I don't personally agree with comparing Tory to like my wrongful conviction cases where you have police officers who plant bullets and police officers who lie on the stand or pay a witness and say, listen, you won't do life if you come and I give you this discovery and you tell on this client. Like some of the egregious thing I've seen that people do to get wrongfully convicted. I don't see that in Tory's case. I think that the evidence was presented. Tory might have thought that those different discrepancies that are being brought up may support him being not guilty, and it didn't turn out that way. But I don't believe it's because he just didn't have any evidence against him or all of this stuff was made up. Like you literally have tweets or whatever. I mean, text messages of Kelsey saying immediately Tory shot Meg and phone call. Like it's just they had evidence or whatever that can definitely be inferred in my opinion. So I see where they would have came up with it. So anywho, they say you don't really have to think in this case. It's no need to really sort through the evidence. Tory's in jail. He shouldn't even be a player in this field. He should just be sitting there doing his time. But he got Milagro. She using her skills. She the journalist. So she using her journalistic skills out here with all this vitriol and stuff that she's doing in order to this whole hashtag Team Free Tory. And was reiterating to the jury about how the power of social media is. Like there's no line. So you all need to pretty much be the ones you can with this case to kind of draw the lines. That's what your job's going to be. The jury's going to decide what crosses the line. How does this cross the line? To using social media as a machine and directing it at someone that might be vulnerable and how it may affect them. They said Tory's sitting in jail. And even when the deposition happened, you heard it, the judge was there at the dep because I told you it was being watched by the magistrate or one of the judges. They needed somebody there because of the issues that was happening at the dep. And they said he walks in like he the CEO. And then the first thing he says is, can I just pay? Like, what's my sanction going to be? Y'all heard him try to figure out how he can just pay and maybe get out of here. She's his channel. Talking about Milagro is basically his the channel or whatever for him to get the information on. So then they say, you'll see on the verdict form that all you can do is award money. And it's your discretion on how this behavior should be treated. And then he goes over what intentional is. And he has a demonstrative piece of evidence where it's a screenshot and it has like a picture, the screenshot of Milagro co-signing when she talked about the cat video. And then it was another screenshot of Milagro underlined Tory's conviction. It was like a screenshot of that video It's like 3 different videos of different things that Milagro had done. And then they also get into Milagro promoting the deep fake. Said basically this isn't journalism. Hold on one second. Um, Then the screenshot of when she says about all this shows is that you could be your brother, your cousin, all of that, and they put that Milagro undermines the conviction. Then they get into the promotion of the deep fake. And they say she gets on the stand and talks about accountability, but you take someone like Tory Lane who doesn't know what accountability is if it ran him over. He's still sitting in there. I mean, it's still sitting in there, and it's 5 years later. Like, come on, 5 years later, of course this guy shot Meg. And they kept reiterating how all the courts, he went to the Court of Appeals, because remember, he got denied a couple of weeks ago. He went to the Court of Appeals. They made this decision as well and said, like, she wants to be a journalist. I don't understand how we can say what she does should be considered journalism. I'm just telling you, it was so peaceful because I was like, what is happening right now? Let me see. I'm trying to find something exciting for y'all, but I just somehow she made the victim out of Tory. She gets on act. They show up, of course, a picture of academics and her doing the interview. And she's basically giving the food, like she's the fuel for a lot of these people. And with the deep fake, again, they want it to be like a deterrent mechanism. Like you're not going to just be able to talk about any other celebrity without consequences. And they said you need to vote for her or check the box for her as far as on the verdict form, because all you have to do is you need to show that she promoted the image, and she's done that. She admitted on the stand that she said to go to my likes and that she'll have Ninja Girl posted. So I told y'all about that earlier. I think they thought that she had actually given it. So the attorney tried to audio where she was saying, I'm not about to post this, a link to the video. And she said, that's cool. I'll just have Ninja Girl, post it. The other word though. And so the attorney thought that Ninja Girl was an actual another person, like didn't think it was Milagro. And she was like, oh, that's my other page. That's me. And that's another thing with this case. It just feels like there's a disconnect, as if you don't really know what was really going on. You don't really know what was going on this internet. Like, how do you find out? You're going to use the term when you're like, go with Ninja Girl, but you just find out that that's her while you're doing your doing your cross of her. It just, I don't know. Closing seemed a bit unorganized to me. That's just my opinion. I was like, okay, where are we going with this? It was kind of off the top of your head. I know this case like the back of my hand type thing. And nothing's wrong with that when you try to be personable, but you just have to have some type of cohesiveness and order. He said, y'all heard him. She said, I'm going to just let Ninja Girl repost it. I'm going to drop that link, and whoever gets a hold of it, that's their business. So that's what was in the audio. So they played the video of her saying that. Said there's a couple of people that I could look up and say, is this Meg? Since she's effed everybody. So that's in the audio where she was like, oh, well, actually, the sad part is I can probably call a couple of people and ask them if it's her, because she's effed so many people. You know, she's effed everybody. So that was in the audio. So they have been kind of showing clips of that same audio, but they played the whole thing during the closing, unless I missed it. Let me talk about these super chats. Thank y'all. Queen Shadina said I was trying to give memberships but couldn't figure out how to make it work. Sorry, chat. Thank you for the thought, because I don't know what's going on. Thank you, T Rose 617 for the super chat, and April B49. Thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate the support. It is so kind of you, and I do not take it lightly. They said, the attorney says she's trying by telling, posting it. She's like, and then I guess further down in the audio, she says that the guy who posted it, and I said this in an earlier video, I guess his post jumped once it was posted. So when she said, go to my likes, watch how many people are gonna go over there and watch it now. And the attorney said, well, she's just trying to drive the story. She's just out here trying to spread this more. Thank you, Queen Brielle. Thank you. So then it has, think about the credibility. So on the jury instruction, they're going to talk about credibility. And they said they're going to ask there, you look at different things. And I have the proposed jury instructions right now, so you'll see what they're talking about. So they'll say, like, you can look for different things to assess credibility. And one of those is like, if you ask direct questions, if they would ask the questions or not. And she said, you seen Milagro. He said, you seen Milagro on the stand. I would ask her a question and she would just go off. And I asked her one direct question and she's rambling and going on and on and on and on. And I'm like she had these prepared answers when she got on there. So she just goes on these rants, but she never answers my question. I don't even remember like what the initial question was or whatever. I think he was trying to think of what it was. They said she was a leading spokesperson in the world for the, saying that Tory didn't shoot Meg and that it was a lie. So they said she was the spokesperson. So they said, Meg trusts you to understand the evidence. So then he got the whiteboard up where he starts talking about what compensatory damages is. He talks about how it's hard to quantify. So they only brought in the guy from Rock Nation to talk about 4 of the deals. And he talks about the emotional distress and how there's really no evaluation point when it comes to the emotional distress and mental anguish. But T. Ferris said how he was trying to send her kind words, Bible verses, but he got frustrated because he just didn't know what to do. So of course, he sent her to therapy no matter how expensive it was. Yeah, that therapy was $240,000. Obviously, you can't do an exact measure of pain. But you can do a number that could make sure that they don't do things like this deep fake again. And I'm not saying it was in this smooth order, because it was some times that I was looking at the clock. Right? Then it was times I was like this. Oh, let me practice now. But this is the gist of it. And then he gives like some type of scenario of what if the future kids is in school and then they see the deep fake. They find out their mama have a deep fake, and then they start laughing at them and they got to go to the nurse and they have these emotional problems, and giving these examples or whatever. She said it wasn't like she was trying to promote some real great cause. It was free Tory. That ain't no cause to be out here trying to promote. Thank you so much, Queen Bria. You found it. I appreciate it. Take it to trial. Said thanks for your coverage. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Like, he talked a lot about emotional distress. And he was like, I wasn't sure if I'll be able to do a good enough job capturing it. Because, for me, it was kind of like, this happened. These are usually the damages. But then I could see it in Meg's eyes, just how they objected, because he was about to talk, I guess, about something he felt or saw or whatever that wasn't in the evidence. So it was facts not in the evidence, and the court agreed. So then they played her suicide hotline video that I told you all about, that she was talking about how people need someone to talk to. And hotties, you are never about a bother. So it was like a www type hotline. Imagine other people having power over your reality, just talking about what PTSD is. And then a person is putting hate out there and they're just lying. Nobody, he laughed a little bit. Nobody can think that this is normal. You got to think of where to draw the line yourself. They need to know that this isn't okay. So then they played a whole cat video again. And they talk about how she thought this was a joke. She shared it. She thought it was cute when she put it's a horse's leg, or asking a question about the horse's leg. Then I put ramble. So I probably just didn't know what was happening. So you need to announce to the world and say, this is what happens. This is the consequence. This is the result. She wants honest judgment. Put a price on it, because this is the punitive damages that they're asking for. Put a price on it so people would think, if I try to share deep fake, this would be too expensive. Put a price that would be expensive for people to pay. I understand she's saying she knew media. But you can't be doing vicious attacks, doing things with meat cleavers, I guess, with the cat video. And this is not, she needs to be shown that this isn't how you approach this with this media. Then they get back on Dr. Walker. You heard about her and all of that. And so, yeah. So let me see. I think that was pretty much it. They're on recross, but it was. So what I will say is I walked out because I was trying to stay awake. And I probably missed about 2 minutes of the defense. But I did see, hey, good to see you. When does the ruling drop? Probably tomorrow. I would think so. I think they have enough information to make a decision. Then Milagro's team got up there. Now I got to give it to them. I think they did very well on their closing. When I came in, because I might have missed a minute or two, but he was saying that Miss Cooper is allowed to have her own opinion. This case is about a guilty verdict from California being dragged out over here in Florida. Plaintiff has a belief that if you get a guilty verdict, everything they said is credible. Everything they say is truthful, and that they don't tell any lies at all. A guilty verdict, they believe a guilty verdict means that the jury believed everything that was said. That the guilty verdict didn't have any other alternatives. And then they said, let's talk about the OJ case over there in California. I was like, that's a good analogy. Because he said, you guys ask if OJ Simpson killed his wife, and you're going to get different opinions. And he was found not guilty. There was no appellate remedy for him either. just like they saying about Tory. Everyone knows the verdict, but that doesn't stop anyone from thinking that he's guilty, or some people that think that he's not guilty. It doesn't prove a verdict does not mean that anyone told the truth 100% of the way. The verdict itself means nothing. People get out of prison sometimes because the people got it wrong when they went to prison. Some people are walking out the door and they should be in prison. So the verdict is just that. That is what they found. If you look at the underlying facts of the case, not general overreaching, the jury does not have to believe everything in order to find them guilty. The jury verdict form doesn't say, we the jury find Tory Lanez 100%, or we the jury doesn't find that this person is 100%, Miss Pete is 100% truthful as being a witness in that trial. The jury that's not even on the verdict form. The jury did not find on their verdict form that Miss Pete was 100% credible. These decisions are not on the jury's form. This case started in this courtroom the same way it started over there in that courtroom. So then he goes into, let me tell you what happened. Then he goes into the night of the shooting. He says about who all was in the car with Tory, Jaquan, and Megan, Pete, and Kelsey. They lead a party over at Kylie's house. And then at some point, there's an argument. And they said the argument was about a few things. Tory tells Kelsey he's having a sexual relationship with Miss Pete. She gets out the vehicle at one point. Then she gets back in the vehicle. Then the second time she gets out the vehicle, the Ring camera picks up the gunshots. We can say that Tory Lanez, that there was the shots. He was convicted. He did 10 years. That's not the issue. We don't need to go back and forth about that. In that moment, when all of this was happening, Miss Pete is the one that says she stepped on glass, and that statement was also contained in the police department report, which is public. And that is really the start of everything. Regardless of her good intention, because remember she was saying that she was trying to protect everybody in the car, regardless of her good intention, it wasn't until the doctor was like, something ain't right, after pulling bullet fragments out of her feet, that she said, she had to tell the truth. They said that's why she told the truth, because the doctor saying you stepped on glass, and we got these bullet fragments we pulling out of your feet. Said everyone was online discussing the case in the hip hop community, and they all took sides. Some believe Meg was lying. That was their own opinions. Some believed that she was not lying. That was their opinions. But the fact is, nobody was there. Every individual lied at some point about what happened that was in that car. Kelsey said she was upset because Miss Pete backdoored her. She's in Houston dealing with COVID, and I guess Meg is here sleeping with Tory in California. Miss Pete, she denied that that Kelsey and Tory were sleeping together, but she did acknowledge that she knew that Kelsey liked Tory, and at the very least, she knew her best friend liked him, and she did say that she didn't believe that Tory liked her back. The friends split. At some point in time, here comes Miss Cooper. So here comes Milagro. Tory sends a message. And the plaintiff wants to suggest that Miss Cooper was being used to say the things that Tory can't say. So what they were trying to say is Milagro was being used as a mouthpiece because Tory was under the gag order. But when you look at the dates of when Tory contacted Milagro, Tory didn't have a reason to have a mouthpiece. He didn't need Miss Cooper. He wasn't even arrested when he sent that. He hadn't even been arrested yet. He was out here free. In fact, he was making his own videos on Instagram. So them trying to say that the reasoning why she was doing this doesn't fit the timeline. There's always been two sides out here on this internet. One side, Miss Pete is lying versus Miss Pete telling the truth. People that saying she lying isn't saying she deserved to be shot. And that's what they keep trying to make it seem like. Just because you saying she lied about something, you saying she deserved to be shot. Nobody said that. Nobody said because she drinks. Nobody says because she's promiscuous. Nobody says because she's twerking. Nobody says because, something that had to do with her family or drugs or whatever. Nobody is saying that she deserved to be shot. They saying it didn't happen like that. They saying they didn't believe what she said. And that doesn't equate to the fact that they think that she deserves to be shot. And Miss Cooper decided to align herself with the people that say she's not telling the truth. That's her opinion. She's entitled to it. She is a personality. She has her own radio show, and she goes through various topics. Hundreds of live streams. It's enough for Miss Cooper to talk about. And this case was a trending topic since the time of the shooting. The case never ceased to exist as far as being a topic. And she talks about different topics. And then at the conclusion of the trial, after the conclusion of the criminal trial, we've had diss tracks that's been published by numerous people. You got Nicki Minaj and you got the ex-boyfriend. And so he kind of goes along different things that have happened since the trial, why she's still trending in the trending topic. Miss Cooper was on Station Head live chat. So they go kind of into the deep fake a little bit. And someone comes in and it wasn't like, y'all, it's being portrayed as if she just decided to search it out and it just came out of an osmosis. It was literally somebody came to her and let her know about this link. And she was on a live when all of this happened. And Miss Pete thinks Miss Cooper just going around just talking about her all the time. And that's not true. So then like they showed the disclaimer she has on her video. And she said the attorney said that he hasn't seen the disclaimer. This was the first time. But he should have seen it before because it's on every video. And the disclaimer about that this is commentary and go do your own research and all of that she has. So then he pulls up the slide and he shows you, and I'm just going to pull up the jury instruction because I don't have a slide. But he pulls up the slide and he talks about what defamation is. So he says, let me go find the defamation. And again, this is the proposed, so they may end up changing this. But I do want to, because they had a slide of what defamation was. So they had their slideshow as well for their closing. Defamation per se. The plaintiff, Miss P, claims that the defendant, Miss Cooper, defamed her by publishing false statements about her on social media, which caused Miss P harm. Miss P claims Miss Cooper defamed her by accusing Miss P of perjury, a felony, by lying under oath in the criminal trial. And this is what you all have to remember. There was a lot of stuff going on where they talked about DNA and they talked about all these different videos. But what she is actually getting sued for is some inferences. She never used the word perjury in none of the video or the two posts, but they're implying, I guess, that she had lied on the stand. So that is what the defamation claim is that she committed perjury. So the issue you must decide for Ms. Pete's claim of defamation against Ms. Cooper are: first, whether Ms. Cooper published a statement about Ms. Pete; second, whether the statement was in some significant respect false; third, whether Ms. Cooper made the statement with actual malice; and fourth, whether Ms. Cooper's defamatory statement was a legal cause of loss, injury, or damage to Ms. Pete. So then he goes on and he says, after he's showing what you got to prove, so let's talk about whether the statements are false. So he's like, watch this statement again. So he puts up the academic where she says about, I got a list of lies that was told by Meg, basically. She said it's a whole slew. I could say when she was in court or on the stand or whatever. She didn't use the word perjury, but you could kind of connect court with this list of lies that they're alleging that she told. So this is on the academic interview that she had done. Did we present evidence that what Miss Pete said, some things that Miss Pete said that wasn't true? Let's talk about the nerve damage. See, Miss Pete didn't see what the doctor said because she wasn't there. But Miss Cooper was there and she was taking copious notes. She had the notebooks. She had 2 notebooks that were filled with information because she was there at the trial. So she would be in a position to know if people had been telling the truth, or, if people came across and they seemed like they were credible or not. So nonetheless, they talk about the nerve damage. The doctor testified that there wasn't nerve involvement at all. The fragments did not touch her nerve. We know what nerve involvement means. We don't have to try to act like we don't know what nerve. We know what nerve damage means. So the doctor said there was no nerve involvement. Now, whether Miss P exaggerated, she lied, or whatever it was when she said she had nerve damage on her left foot, that wasn't true when she said that on the stand. There's a difference between a lie and something that's not true. And this just was not true what she was saying. Miss Pete testified no physical altercation. However, there was an independent witness who said 2 women were fighting and he was a neutral person. Talking about Kelsey. Miss Cooper was aware of this testimony because she was sitting in there. She was in there about the witness, because the independent witness, because she sat in the courtroom and she had 2 notebooks. So she was writing things down. She was also aware of the photos that showed the injuries of Kelsey. Miss Pete said that she was told that Kelsey was punched and her hair was pulled. But when you look at the red marks going down her legs, that's not consistent with what Miss Pete was saying actually happened. Because remember, she's saying that Kelsey told her that Kelsey and that Tori had beat her up, had beat Kelsey up. So that's supposed to be where the marks came from. Then it was, you heard, let's just throw something else in there. You heard about the Kylie Jenner kicking them out of the house and security told them to leave or something. And I guess Meg said that didn't happen, or somebody said it didn't happen in it. Miss Pete didn't take notes. Milagro was there taking notes about what happened at that trial. If Milagro was just taking Tori's word for everything and putting it out there, and she wasn't actually just sitting up in that court taking down testimony, then she might have a problem with this actual cause of action right here. If she just got on the internet to say what someone told her, then maybe she may have a cause of action. But it's silly. Why would she sit in court, take a bunch of notes, if she was just going to say what somebody else told her to say? So what would be her point of sitting there? You guys seen all the notes that she took in the trial if her intention was to say what somebody told her to say. You guys, they got the phone records. They got the jail calls. We want to know, where's the jail calls that Miss Cooper is allegedly conspiring with the father or conspiring with Tory? Where those at? Where is this smoking gun? And I think that's kind of what everybody thought. We thought we was gonna go in there and they was just digging into some stuff and they were able to find it during discovery, but nah, it was everything they put up was pretty much things that a lot of us saw on the internet or seen on the videos. So they said, where's this smoking gun? It doesn't exist. The text message you would think would have found some type of proof, because if you really wanted to get, and this was another issue I had, is that, okay, if her text messages were deleted and you think that it was with Sunstar, and I said it before, why wouldn't you have tried to subpoena his records and try to get whatever was deleted? Why didn't you try to subpoena his phone? So they said there were other avenues for you to try to get the information that you're alleging was lost, but y'all didn't do it at all. And that was kind of the same issue I had with the deep fake. For those of you that follow me before, you know that TD Jakes was having issues with deep fake as well, and it was all over the internet. Bishop TD Jakes. His team sued in California, and they did, you can do like a ex parte. So you can try to get an order to get information with your expectation that you are going to sue. Because typically you can't subpoena anybody until you're in a lawsuit. But there are certain circumstances that if you can't find out who to sue, then you can try to get that information. And so he did that. And the case is out there, like it was in California. And then Google had to give up like the email addresses and the names and all of that. And there were a couple of people that responded because he found a few people, and most of the people were in another country. So I was really curious how you had this big old firm or whatever, and they didn't, like, at minimum try to be like, no, whoever put this out here, it's a wrap. Oh, you definitely getting sued. But anyway, they said, well, you had other alternatives if you really wanted to find some type of text messages that you think exist to show some type of conspiracy. And they were talking about, you keep talking about academics. Academic got his own PR team. There was never any evidence tying this alleged conspiracy that she was on a platform in order to spread lies on behalf of Tory Lanez. Then you guys want to talk about these $3,000 worth of payments that stretched over 17 months. Regardless, none of that came from Tory. So where's the money? You saying that she got some type of battery in her bag, but where is this money that you're talking about? This is a figment of your imagination. Basically, Megan wants it to be true, but it's not there. Then they put up the second statement that they were saying was defamation, where she said non-credible, when she said this can be your brother, your uncle, and all of that. This was a botched investigation. You had non-credible witnesses and all of that in a tweet. And they said she wasn't just talking about Miss Cooper when she said that. She said witness says. If she was just talking about Miss Pete, she would have just said Miss Pete. Or she would have said a non-credible witness. But she didn't. That's not what she said. I thought that one was kind of reaching. When I seen that was one of the ones they were trying to say, I was like, huh? So yeah, when she said non-credible witnesses, they were saying that she's the one that she was talking about. And they were like, no, it was a lot of people that we seen that weren't telling the truth. So anyway, the statement was not false because there were some non-credible witnesses, and that's Miss Cooper's opinion. The third message you guys are trying to say was the one with the Meg Thee Stallion, and she said, well, it's really not even a statement, it was a question. So it was the one where was Meg Thee Stallion get caught deceiving the court again? Well, according to his photographer, the answer is yes. And then he had like the lawsuit. And he said she didn't even put it out as a fact. That wasn't even a statement. That was a question. And she sees court as a big umbrella, and that includes everybody, the investigators, the police officer, and all of that. And so she felt like, with that being said, that Meg was trying to deceive the police because they're a part of this big umbrella that's the courts, when she made her glass statement that she stepped on glass. That's not a defamatory statement either. And then they said, when you know the defense to defamation is the truth. And they go over the defending of the defamation of the truth. Let me see if that's on here. I assume it is. The substantial truth doctrine. Ms. Cooper contends that the alleged defamatory statements were true. Truth is an absolute defense to defamation. Truth statements that are not readily capable of being proven false, and statements of pure opinion are protected from defamation actions by the First Amendment. To succeed on this defense, Ms. Cooper must prove by a preponderance of the evidence that the alleged defamatory statement was substantially true. A statement does not have to be perfectly accurate to avoid being defamatory if the gist or the sting of the statement is true. If the preponderance of the evidence supports this defense, your verdict must be for Ms. Cooper. If the preponderance of the evidence does not support this defense, your verdict must be for Ms. P. So that was the defense. So then they get into the instructions on the immediate defendant, because of course this is the big contention on whether she's immediate defendant or not. So this is the proposed instruction. On plaintiff's claim for defamation per se, there is a preliminary issue for you to decide. That issue is whether defendant Milagro Cooper is a media defendant. To qualify as a media defendant under Florida law, a party must be engaged in the dissemination of news and information to the public in order to initiate the uninhibited, robust, and wide open debate on public issues. Not every person or entity that publishes information is a media defendant. And deciding if defendant Cooper is a media defendant, you should consider whether the defendant, one, provides disinterested and neutral commentary or editorializes on matters of public interest rather than advocates for a particular client or personal interest. For some reason, they said to focus on disinterested, and they felt like they were able to show that she's disinterested. Two, regularly disseminates news or information to the public rather than making isolated or one-time publication. So she's regularly giving this information. She testifies she's on 5 days a week. And three, impartially disseminates information rather than acting primarily to promote their own business, products, or services. He basically says she doesn't promote any business or services or any of that on her own. Operates for the purposes of informing the public about matters of public concern through news reporting, analysis, or commentary. So she talked about how we saw the list of all the things she talked about, from trending news to what's going on, serious news, what's breaking news, and all of that. Operates for the purposes, I did that already. Functions in a similar manner to traditional news media, such as newspapers, magazines, television, radio, or their online equivalents, even if using newer platforms such as blogs or websites. So he felt like she fit in what we saw. They showed like her LLC and how this is a business for her, how she has these hot topics, how she was on there with the shooting and all the things that she does that she qualifies as media. So then they talk about, they have a slide where they have the station head contract. And they say in 2019, Rashida or Ra Ali, she asked Miss Cooper to the on-site station head. 2020, she's offered a contract with station head. Or I think she's offered, like, she has to she had to get on Station Head and show her drawing an audience for a year. And then after a year, she was able to get a contract. And then in 2021, she actually got the contract. So they said, well, they're trying to make it seem like Tori somehow must have been a part of this. And this is why she got this contract. Oh, it's just a coinky dink, at this time. But she first got on site. She didn't even know who Tori was. And was just kind of, well, she probably knew who he was, but she wasn't in contact with them. So they were trying to establish how Meg's team is basically taking things out of timelines and trying to credit all this stuff to Tori, and that's not proper. So then they talk about those endorsement deals that Meg said she lost. Said they was 4 deals lost because you saying you had 4 deals that was lost, and it was all because of Miss Cooper. Let me touch this off of here. All because of Miss Cooper. Millions of dollars, and it's all her fault. But the evidence shows that you take, like, there's no, like, basically he talks about the Just Eats and was like, you want to blame Miss Cooper, but when we looked at the emails, the person that works for Roc Nation is not taking responsibility, because when you looked at the email, a lot of it was you weren't communicating. So when you look down the emails, the issue was like, we don't communicate like this. Usually we have more communication. Then also they said, well, in 2000 or the year before all this decline, there was testimony that she had like 10 to 12 deals. So they like, you basically was working her like a dog because, of course, you getting commissions. So maybe that's why she can't do some of this stuff. But you don't want to take accountability. Y'all don't want to take responsibility. He couldn't even take responsibility about the communication. Then they said there was demands set that was just too many demands. They had already given $150,000, but then she wanted a private jet and she wanted glam. And at the end of the day, they didn't want to do it. There's no emails that were really presented as to why the deals really fell through. We just know, but they said the deals fell through and had somebody testify that they fell through. So they haven't shown that. Then they said the Call of Duty. She testified that she realized, well, they testified that once she realized that the skins, she realized that it was a shooting, that she didn't want it when you become a skin. So he explained that if you have a skins that's Michael Jackson, if you go in and you become that person, and was like, that the guy from Roc Nation, the commercial product, whatever he does over there that gets their endorsements, or gets whatever partnerships and collabs that they have, made it seem like, oh, with some other purpose and for marketing or whatever. It's like, no, everybody knows what Call of Duty is and what you're trying to do with the skins. And then they said what really happened is she thought, if I put myself in this game, what happens when they start shooting at me? Like, they really gonna make fun of me now, because now they got the ability to shoot at me. That's what really, really happened. Now, she gets shot in 2020. A year later, we found a tweet where she's saying, hey, Heidi's, we need to try to get these skins, or whatever she's saying, with Call of Duty responding. That was a year after she got shot. So where's all the trauma? Like a year later, why would that post come up if she was traumatized by it? And she didn't say that she didn't post it. She said she may not have been the one to post it. It could have been somebody on her team. So she didn't deny it. She just said it could have been, but it wasn't necessarily.
They're saying they can't see us telling them to get the likes up. Some of the people in the chat, so if you say it, they can hear you say it.
Oh, okay. You guys, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, please. Thank you so much. They said the real reason. Hold on. Let me. I'm jumping ahead. Hold on. What no trauma when you was asking about the scans. Now let's put up the pool video. Now y'all saw the pool video. You got Justin standing there, they drinking and all of that there in the pool. Where's the trauma? That doesn't affect her. And he's standing there in the pool with a gun. But everything is Miss Cooper. Everything Miss Cooper does affects her, though. But nothing else affects her but what Miss Cooper does. Just like everyone else. Now, Meg was in her deposition and was asked if she care about Miss Cooper, and she said she ain't care about her. So if you don't care about her like that, why you can't just turn her off like you do everything else? Why nobody else bothers you? Why is she the one that bothers you too? The real reason is she wants to get back at Tory Lanez. This whole case is about Tory Lanez. So then they put up the tweet of the cat video when she retweeted it. They said that cat video tweet only got 30 retweets and 233 likes. What type of effect do you think that had? It had 30 retweets and 233 likes. Said it seems like she sees another woman around Tory, and then sometimes she just associates them with Tory, like as if it is Tory or something. So a lot of this is, and this is my words, a lot of this sounds like they're saying is you equate when you're close to Tory, you get cool with Tory like you are Tory. And said that's the same thing she did with Kelsey, because she stopped talking to Kelsey when she realized that Kelsey went and saw Tory after the shooting and had talked to Tory in private and was like, accused her of taking a bribe and all of that. So then they talk about the intentional infliction of emotional distress. It was like, you saw the lady that came up here, the doctor. Miss P was not diagnosed with PTSD until 2025. You heard the doctor say that the original cause of her PTSD is the shooting, but allegedly it was Milagro who is the one that kept it going, where she could never heal, because it's like she's just picking at it. But if you take Miss Cooper out of the situation, if he was the original cause, then that means she still would have PTSD. It would still be there. And the issue with Dr. Walker's opinion is that she gave an answer to the question. Then she walked backwards from the question in order to get to what she came to. So she didn't do it like a math problem where you just put it out there and you try to solve the problem from the top to the bottom. She went from the bottom to the top. She was given videos, she was given documents, and everything was about Miss Cooper and nobody else. Dr. Walker said if she had this information, she could supplement. When I was, she was asked, well, what about all these people and what their effect is? She said, if I had the information, I could supplement. And said, so she acknowledged that what she has was incomplete. Her whole examination was lackluster at best. Her opinion was lackluster. The doctor is supposed to be objective. But when you're paid to do certain analysis and to give certain answers to satisfy the evidence of the claim of the person that you have been hired to do this opinion on. And there are so many other things that should have been more important to her as far as what she was going through, that this doctor should have known about it. She should have known about her ex-boyfriend. She should have known about that she was going through a bad breakup and he did this track and all of that. Those type of things far outweigh anything Miss Cooper could have ever done or said. Again, take Miss Cooper outside of the equation, she will still be suffering from the same things that were happening. So that means Miss Cooper is not liable. If you remove her, she still would have these emotional issues because of what's going on. You can take her out and she's not liable 1,000 times because it's so basically saying so many different things and so many different reasons why you can say that she was suffering from these issues. You can put her in, remove her. It'll still be 1,000 more times you could keep removing her because that's the things that were going on. They said T Ferris and Miss P acknowledged she was having issues with her record label to the point where T Ferris was ready to ride up. He was going to have her back. Was going to handle it. That's your business issue. That is not a Milagro Cooper issue. If Milagro Cooper was not involved in this situation with giving commentary, Megan still would have had this issue with her record label. Miss Cooper does not reach millions of people. Even when we were selecting the jury, that we asked them, do you know Megan P? Have you heard of Megan P? Have you heard of Tory Lanez? We asked, have you heard about Milagro Cooper or Milagro Grams? Nobody had ever heard of Milagro. So she ain't reaching people like that. She is one of many, many bloggers on the internet. The real issue is the relationship with Sunstar and Tory Lanez. That's what a real issue is. Years before Miss P targeted Miss Cooper, talking about the text, I told you all there was a text message and there was a folder. So essentially, there was all this stuff going on, but you guys are keeping track of what she's doing. Yeah, she was picked in that message to keep an eye on. Not any of the real players out here in this game. None of these big platforms. Then you just watch the plaintiff continuously play this cat video, hoping that if you keep on playing it, somehow it's going to rub off on Milagro Cooper, like throw her away just because of she reposted something. Like, and it wasn't her video, but that's what they were using, him posting that video and her reposting it. So you saying the cause is not Nicki? It's not Nicki Minaj. She's rich and famous. Not any of a number of individuals who can stand up for themselves. Y'all just say, let's pick on one individual. All these people that can stand up for themselves, but y'all want to pick on this one individual. So they go to the deep fake and they go to the elements. So we're going to pull those elements up. Yeah, I honestly, if I were to be honest with you, the way they went at this case was just, it wasn't what I was expecting. So let me go to the promotion of an altered sexual depiction. Miss P claims that defendant willfully and maliciously promoted a deepfake pornographic video of Miss P on social media without Miss P's consent. Miss P alleges that Miss Cooper knew or reasonably should have known that the visual depiction of plaintiff was in fact an altered sexual depiction, more commonly known as deepfake. The issue for you to decide on Miss P's claim of promotion of an altered sexual depiction are, first, so this is what the jury is going to be considering. First, whether Miss Cooper willfully and maliciously promoted an altered sexual depiction of an identifiable person, namely Miss P. Second, Miss Cooper promoted the altered sexual depiction without the consent of Miss P. Third, at the time of the promotion, Miss Cooper knew or reasonably should have known that the visual depiction was an altered sexual depiction. He conceded the second point and said, we can't even fight that. It was promoted, but I want y'all to look at the first and the third. First, whether Ms. Cooper willfully and maliciously promoted an altered sexual depiction of an identifiable person, namely Miss P. So he said, when you look at maliciously, you talk about how it was actually promoted. Ms. Cooper testified the video was going viral. And when she was on station head, people told her about the video. So she finds it, and if you're like listening to it, she's literally looking for it while she's on this station head, and she finds it, and she kind of looks at it, and she's like, OMG. And she starts doing her commentary while she's on there. And she goes through and she's kind of mulling over, is this AI? Is this not AI? I don't know. This might be real, because when you look at the body type, when you look at this might be real. I don't know. I know if it's AI, she need to sue whatever MF done put it out here. So she was kind of looking indecisive, going back and forth. So they're using that to their benefit to say that she didn't do it maliciously. She said if Miss Cooper thought the video were fake AI at the moment that she got it and said, go ahead and go like and go see the video, then she probably have a problem. She'd be in trouble. But you can hear her contemplating on the video, on whether it was real or it wasn't. She had to look at it, and she's trying to decide if it looks real or not. And said if it's AI generated, Miss Pete needs to sue. And it was like she didn't even know this statute existed. She's not from here. She's from Florida. And so, of course, they played a video again where she says she's not clear. She's not sure whether it was real or fake. She was juxtaposing to what she knows about Miss Pete. So she was talking about, they got a belly ring, she got a belly ring, that looked like her big hair, the skin tone, and she's doing all of this while she's on there. So she said, so if the question is, did she know that it was fake? The answer would be no. And as soon as she recognized that it was fake, she took it down, and that was that. So then they posted her trademarks in LLC and said, this new group or new media people, are considered media. Like Milagro, who write about trial, they post about trials, do it on a consistent basis. This is her only job. So she is media. She is a media defendant because this is all she does. So that's what they said. So then they put up a picture of Milagro, and it looks like it's like with her family or something, and was just like, and she's a little girl, and they were like, she has her own opinion. She grew up around individuals who have certain type of vernacular and personalities, and she took a lot of their personalities and she created this radio show. So she's saying like how she's so blunt and got the potty mouth and all of that stuff. That is all the people that she grew up around. So they showing a picture of her family, or I don't know, maybe it ain't her family. I know it's her as a little girl, and then it's a bunch of people all in the back. And she created her radio show based off of that. And she said her channel is no different than the nighttime shows, different comedians. It's no different. She can articulate without cursing. She can talk with individuals with respect, and she can conduct herself in that manner. So that's what she was doing on that stand. On her show, she's different. Her persona on the show deserves the same respect like you would give South Park or Dave Chappelle. Said there are two individuals with two different opinions, and both are entitled to their opinion. We don't own opinions of other people. You're talking about sending a message. The only message that should be sent out to the public is to discourage the right to have your own opinion. You should not be suppressing or trying to suffocate people's opinion. So we ask that you send a statement. This is just as important to Ms. Cooper, but it's also important to everyone else to be able to have their own opinions. And so we ask that you would find her not liable. And that was the defense. I was like, okay. So there's that. Let me see. You said Dave Chappelle as in comedy and vulgar language. Yes. Dear Hotties and Mob, can you please hit the like button? Thank you. Thank you. So my thing is this is what I was waiting. There were certain things I was kind of waiting on that just, I don't know. I just thought this case was going to be something different. And maybe that's what people were saying about like the Diddy case. You hear so much stuff, and then when it comes down to it, you like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't know they were just going to do defamation per se, and that they were going to say that it was because of an alleged perjury. And then she never used the word perjury, so you're making inferences. So I didn't know that part. When it comes to the deep fake, I think because it was a newer statute, even how they presented their request to admission, it probably was they just didn't really know how to respond to it at that point because it's a newer statute. And that was the only one I really at first was like, I don't know, because of the promotion. But there are other aspects. Did she maliciously do it? And did she prove that it wasn't malice because she took it down? I think she said she took it down within 15 minutes of figuring out, like going back and forth with the mob, like, y'all think it's real? Man, this ain't real. I'm going to take it down type thing. So she didn't even have it up that long. So was it considered malicious? So they have to prove every element. That's why I pulled it up. So even if like he can concede one element, I mean, it was promoted because she sent people to her likes and she liked it. So, but was it malicious when she did it? That's going to be the issue. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. I always thought that and let me pull that up on what you have to prove for that. But I always thought that they were pretty good at showing that it was a number of things that could have caused it. So intentional infliction of emotional distress is Miss P claims that Miss Cooper acted extremely and outrageously by coordinating with Mr. Daystar Peterson and others to distribute false statements about Miss P and to promote and distribute an altered sexual depiction of Miss P, which caused her severe emotional distress. Defendant denies plaintiff's claim. The issues for you to decide on Ms. P's claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress are, first, whether Ms. Cooper engaged in extreme and outrageous conduct. Second, whether Ms. Cooper acted with the intent to cause severe emotional distress or with reckless disregard of the high probability of causing severe emotional distress. And third, whether the extreme and outrageous conduct was the legal cause of, hold on one second. The food it's been out there for a minute, I think. It was in my text. Sorry. It's going to be cold. Sorry, guys. Third, whether the extreme and outrageous conduct was a legal cause of severe emotional distress to Ms. P. And then extreme and outrageous conduct is behavior which under the circumstances goes beyond all possible bounds of decency and is regarded as shocking, atrocious, and utterly intolerable in a civilized community. Emotional distress is severe when it is of such intensity or duration that no ordinary person should be expected to endure it. Extreme and outrageous conduct is a legal cause of severe emotional distress if it directly and in natural and continuous sequence produces or contributes substantially to producing such severe emotional distress, so that it can reasonably be said that but for the extreme and outrageous conduct, the severe emotional distress would not have occurred. So because they talked about all the things she was going through, I didn't know if that one, the defamation, when I found out what the defamation was, I was a little like, So let me see. I want to show y'all, this is an adverse inference. So one of the things that I told you all is she comes in behind the 8 ball, she being Milagro, because of those deleted messages, even though I think that her team explained it pretty, tried to explain it pretty well as to the deletions. So this is the adverse inference, destruction, or deletion of evidence. A party to a lawsuit, such as the defendant, has a legal duty to retain and preserve paper and electronic communications and other documents that concern the case. This includes, among other things, all electronically and stored information in one's possession, custody, or control, such as emails, text messages, and other communications stored on application on one's phone, computer, or in the cloud. The day before plaintiff filed this lawsuit, her attorneys formally notified defendant that plaintiff was going to file the case and that she had these retention and preservation duties. Despite this written notice and these underlying legal duties, defendant deleted thousands of text messages and removed the WhatsApp from her phone that potentially contained messages and chats. In reaching your verdict, you should assume and infer that defendant intended to deprive plaintiff of the evidence in the deleted messages and chats, and that at least some of the deleted messages related to the claim in this case and were about plaintiff, and that these deleted messages were unfavorable to the defendant. So there is an instruction that they can infer that they should infer that if not all, some of them would have been adverse. Now, what it would have meant, if it would have showed that there was some conspiracy, I don't know. But they could consider it. They should consider it when they do their deliberation. Okay, so then the use of deposition to consider it as live, the same as live testimony. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on here that I want to talk about. So yeah. Anyways, that is the adverse inference. And again, I believe, of course, this isn't the final one. This is proposed, and I think the judge was saying that there were some corrections. Very interesting things again about they're not finished. I think they have 15-20 minutes, they being Megan Pete's attorneys, and so I'm going to reserve some of my comments until there's a verdict when it comes to them. But I did want to make sure that, the young team over there is out there putting in work against the big firm. I think they did pretty good. She has no proof that Tory didn't do it, but she presented her show like she knew he didn't do it, even misrepresented trial testimony based on her own trial notes. So the problem is, it's not what y'all. So what I've gotten is a bunch of emails from everybody. Like people saying certain things, showing me what happened. But I don't know if Megan's team have all the stuff that y'all talking about. Some of you guys have been watching this, been following her, and they know things, but from the little bit that they showed it never even came up how often she talked about her. Like they showed maybe 3 or 4 videos, maybe where she was talking about it. It was one whole show where she was only talking about Meg for 10 minutes out of 2 hours. So it never came that how frequently she did it. Like, was this a once a week thing? Was this a once a month? Was this every day? Was this 5 times a day? Were there hour videos? There just appeared to be so many things that were not really disclosed that I heard, but that's that. Yeah, girl, they've been emailing me all type of stuff. I'm like, okay. Thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's I don't know how to I did not know, like, the defamation. I thought it was just some things that were said and it just was not true. But even like with her mom, she didn't know her mom had stolen something. She put it out there, but she couldn't say it was defamation because it was true. Like her mom, she said she found out her mom stole from Walgreens. She's never known her father to be a drug addict, but he's dead. I mean, so she said she didn't know nothing about that. So it was like, there really wasn't any other, like, that's literally the statements, I guess, that they put out, that she said she committed perjury on the stand. So all she did was they went on there and was like, let's see if somebody else says something that contradicted what she said. Even though we don't know. And the doctor, I think, was probably their strongest one because he's so neutral. I mean, he's given a diagnosis. He's the expert. So why would you say, instead of her, if she would have related in a way, and that's how I would have said it was, because to me, it was, did you suffer nerve damage? Yes. Well, what is your definition of nerve damage? She said, well, on the side of my foot, I can't feel the side of my left foot. So she's not an expert. She's not a doctor. So in her mind, that's like somebody saying, I got back issues. What's your back? Well, I got pain in my lower back. Well, you're not going to know till you go to the doctor whether you got a herniation or whether you got a bulging disc or whatever. We as humans just describe it as we think it is. We can say, ooh, the nerves in my foot, something must be going on. But until you go to the doctors, they may say whether it's damaged or whether nothing is going on at all. But that doesn't negate, I guess, the fact that you say something going on with nerve in your foot. But none of that was really explained. So yeah, that is true too. No, Spiro is not trying this case. No. It's Quinn Emanuel, the firm. Yeah, that's part of the conversation, is that she's a public figure, and says she's basically, even when Milagro was on there, was like, she'll probably be she's gonna be talked about because she stayed in the news. Like it was always something happened. So of course she is saying that somebody said hours versus every day. So what? You don't think that matters when somebody is trying to make it seem like you're a mouthpiece? Nothing about that you feel like matters. If somebody says, if I do commentary for 4 hours and I talk about her for 10 minutes, how are you saying that I'm just a mouthpiece for somebody? If I show that every other day you're talking about me, or you throw me in your commentary and everything is about this trial and how you think that I didn't get shot, or I didn't do it, or whatever they're trying to say that it is, then I think that would have greater impact. But somebody just saying, okay, they talk about me sporadically, when I've proven that I've been doing this for the last 6 years, and I talk about everybody. It's not just you. And I've talked about provocative things and people in compromising positions. How do you not think that matters in some way? But that's just me. Maybe it don't matter. I may think differently, but that's what I was getting at. If Meg loses this case, she needs to fire her lawyers. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. I'm just going to say that I felt like if there was which team did the best on close, then I think that Milagro's team did pretty well. They had their information organized and all of that. So yeah. They email me a lot. I get emails all the time. They're not crazy. Like, people email me cases. They email me all type of stuff. And that was part of it too. The attorney was saying she messed up her credibility before it started. Like, if you're going to lie, you lied about the glass and people kind of came in, your credibility is based on that. So maybe she messed it up before she came. So they're saying she's the one that did it. Milagro didn't lie about it. So yeah. You said she did the trial coverage and when Megan dropped music or went to award shows. Okay. I don't know. I have to defer to you all, because I can't say that I was watching it. So you said Tasha K got several cease and desist. Milagro sold it on her Discord. Y'all be playing yourselves. So what on Discord? I'm so confused. So that came up too, if I think you're talking about the deep fake, and how she said it was that because she's not monetized, it's not uncommon for her Cash App to be there. If you're talking about the deep fake. She said it wasn't like I'm selling the deep fake. It was my channel's not monetized, essentially because she don't want to be censored. And so she asked people for money and Cash Apps and all that, and they support her. Her community supports her. If Milagro shared it, who originally shared it, was sent to her phone, why isn't the original being Yeah, maybe, I talked about that before you get a question, but no, she was literally on live. Like you seen it in real time. People was telling her it was a sex tape with Megan Thee Stallion, and she was looking for it, and they sent her the links and all of that. It was literally on her live. And so that was played. Everything Milagro said was her opinion. We know that Megan was shot, but we don't know who shot her. Well, the state of California said it was Tory. Listen, I'm just saying, if I can be fair on both sides, I think y'all can. Well, I don't even have no expectation of certain people because y'all want to believe what you want to believe, period. I believe that part of Meg, the problem is just the approach of it. That's just my opinion on, because I just thought it was gonna go a whole different way. It just really sounded like it started sounding like she was mad that Milagro didn't believe that he shot her. That's what it started sounding like. It started being like, and it was like at first we was like, I don't know, it's looking, and then it just seems like sometime last week, towards the end of the week last week, it just started shifting, and we all was kind of like, I don't know. People's like, this can go either way. So I think that's where the majority of people are at. You said I have emotional distress. It's almost 2026 and people still arguing about glass and fragments. I know. And the thing is, so there was a tweet, somebody was mentioning that yesterday. Where are the fragments? The fragments are lost. Apparently you didn't catch up, because Milagro, apparently she did say that she learned at some point, and she put it up, that the gun was at the LAPD, the fragments, the bullets, all of that stuff was at the LAPD being kept. So, and even if they were missing, and this didn't come up, but even if they were missing, she still, according to that doctor that was there, she had parts of it where the fragments are still in her foot, because wherever they were, I don't think you could like remove them or something, if I recall correctly. So and that's part of what the plaintiff said. They said, so we gonna promote it first and then investigate it last. That was part of what they were saying as well. So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Elite Leo. Because again, I was listening, trying to write, and he's just sometimes all over a little bit of animated and all of that. If Kelsey did it, why didn't Tori's team call Jaquan on the stand? And well, so Jaquan said he didn't see who saw it. Well, the affidavit that I saw, I was kind of looking, my eyesight ain't that good. But from what I was peering and looking at, the affidavit looked like he just confirmed in his affidavit that there was a fight, and allegedly Kelsey had the gun in her hand, and then he heard the gun go off. Like, I think Tori came behind to try to maybe get the gun or something, and the gunshots went off, but Jaquan didn't hear anything or see anything. I'm sorry. He heard the gunshots, but he didn't see anything. So you said, I don't want to argue with y'all. Trust me, you won't win. Okay. Yeah, I believe what y'all want to believe. Listen, I ain't trying to change your beliefs. I'm listen, believe what you want to believe. He in there doing time, but like they said, I guess they said this gonna be an OJ situation. Child, I'm so tired of hearing this whole statement. Someone said the judge has wherefore affirmed the Western Rock Nation. Ain't that a clear conflict of interest? No, it's not. And that's alleged. I don't know anything about that, but I've heard that 50,000 times. And attorneys marry attorneys, and different things happen with. She's the chief judge on the stand, and it's not, she doesn't make the decision. You guys do know she's just the referee. The jury is going to ultimately make the decision in this case. It's not going to be the judge. So, not really sure where that came from, but I heard it 5,000 times since I've been covering this. I think she was not charges. This is a civil case, so you can be found liable or not liable. Get no cause. Somebody said there was bars about it in the Call of Duty song. I don't Child, I don't know. This is allegedly. That's what they said. I don't know nothing about it. All right, let me get off of here because see, y'all just making all these random statements, and I don't want nobody coming for me. I'm just trying to cover the trial. Is inferences automatically counted or taken into account? Didn't Graham's team admit that Meg was shot, nullifying half her argument to begin with? Did you see what the different claims are? The claim is defamation, deep fake, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I know we talked about a whole lot of other stuff, including the entire criminal trial, but those are the issues. And so her saying that she believes she got shot, maybe, I don't know, because honestly, then why are we still talking about Glass? Why are we even talking about Glass? If you believe that she got shot and there was bullet fragments, why does Glass even a conversation? We shouldn't even be talking about it anymore. But that's what the attorney on Meg's team was saying, was like, this the first time. I've asked her over and over again. This the first time she straight up said, like, yes, I believe she got shot, instead of saying she got hurt. Because that's what she kept saying. I believe she got hurt. I believe she got hurt. So, yeah. You said she need to put her energy in some music. Maybe she will come out and go hard in the paint. So that's it. Let me see. I think thank you for becoming a new member. Thank you. I owe you an apology. I'm so sorry. For what? What happened? I don't know. Who's gonna take this W? You said Eaton go. Y'all been blocking. Y'all tired?
The chat is going crazy.
All right. My husband said I gotta go. Y'all up here not behaving yourself. Now I gotta get off here. But make sure you hit the like button, okay? Subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. Thank you so much for viewing the coverage. Talk to y'all later. Gotta go.